Has your child been given a diagnosis of auditory processing disorder? Whether it's what we call auditory processing disorder or central, CAPD or APD. Yes, of course, they are different. But you know, has your child been given a diagnosis of either, particularly the APD version, okay? Or do you see that your child has difficulty taking in longer instructions? Has your child a difficulty with reading and retaining information from what they've read? So they may be able to read quite easily, but it's actually the processing and retention of the information that they've read that is more of the issue. And that can often be like a high level difficulty that comes about because of auditory processing difficulties. So if that's the case, then this is the video for you. I've worked with so many children with auditory processing difficulties and disorders over the years. And the reason that I'm doing this video is, well, for a variety of reasons, but one, because I think it's actually so misunderstood. And I think a lot of children, teenagers and adults aren't achieving their true potential, life-wise, work-wise, health, you know, the whole lot, because of the lack of understanding that we have around auditory processing disorder, and actually how easy it is to resolve, and I mean resolve and remediate a lot of those processing issues, if not all of them. Okay, and that's what I have seen over the last 20 years. So I really want to talk to you about that. I suppose when I worked for the health service many years ago, 20 years ago, yeah. And I worked for the health service for about 5 years at that stage, and then I went on and worked for another company. And I found it really difficult at that time. I worked with a lot of great speech and language therapists, and they were really, in fact, they were very specialist in that clinic in the area of what we used to call language disorder. Now we're calling it, I suppose, well, the receptive part of it anyway, more auditory processing disorder. But they were just phenomenal on what's now termed developmental language delay or, developmental language disorder. We would have termed language disorder in those days. And the therapists there, my colleagues, were just really phenomenal and put a huge amount of work into helping children with what I would talk about now, one part of it, auditory processing disorder, really achieve their true potential. Because, and they were, as I say, fantastic at it. And so, you know, I had a great grounding in all of that, and which I really am very thankful for. But I struggled with, because it just didn't feel right to me. I struggled with the whole theory concept at that time within the clinic, and this was widely accepted, and my understanding is it's the same today, that, you know, parents were to be told that, you know, their child had, when they had an auditory processing disorder, or a language disorder, developmental language disorder, that there was only a certain amount that we were going to be able to do via our speech and language therapy techniques, and we'd bring the child absolutely as far as we possibly could, but that it was a lifelong condition, and that they were going to have difficulties, challenges, whether it be with auditory processing disorder on the processing end of things, i.e. taking in instructions, following information, retaining information, or, you know, on the expressive end of things in terms of expressing themselves. But we're talking specifically in this video about the auditory processing disorder end of things, which is more the receptive end of things. How much information can I take in? Can I take in multiple instructions at one time? Can I retain the information? All of that kind of thing. Now, you can imagine that the implications, that if this is a lifelong thing and, you know, children would only get to a certain point with it, we were having to let children go at that stage in that service at 12 years of age, saying to the parents, yes, we'll see you on maybe a 6-monthly basis or a yearly basis, but, you know, if you continue to work on the auditory processing, but it's not going to change very much more than what's changed already. Now, I found that very hard to do, because just to say that to parents, because it just didn't feel right. I really felt there has to be, surely, you know, these were are really intelligent kids. Their difficulty was on the processing end of things. So surely there had to be something that we could have done. But we were limited at that point, and seem to be still now, by our speech and language therapy techniques, even though there's some amazing speech and language therapy techniques that really can make a huge difference to kids. But in that area in particular, and I know that that's what the research is showing as well, that in terms of developmental language disorder, we're not seeing the results that we should be seeing using speech and language therapy techniques. But so at that stage, I was very disillusioned, I suppose. I was kind of at that point where I became quite disillusioned with speech and language therapy and what it had to offer, because I thought, God, surely there has to be more than this for these kids. They're bright kids, their parents are very much on board, but we were having to let them go because we didn't have anything more to offer from a speech therapy perspective. But I was thinking about these kids, my God, in the future, what was going to happen, in terms of were they going to be able to attend college? How were they going to do in exams? What kind of work were they going to get? Their relationships, everything. It had huge implications, I felt, for them. And at the same time, I felt, there has to be something, because, these are bright kids, they should be able to do this. So it was at that stage that I started to travel, and I really, I traveled, I did a lot of work with therapists in the States. I was very lucky to work with people like Sheila Frick, Mary Choir, oh my golly now, just remembering them all. They were phenomenal. Met with Patty Otter, who else? Oh my God, there's been so many of them. Then met with Paul Madall. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Alfred Tomatis, whom I'd love to have met, and of course would love to have met Jean Ayres, but she had passed away at that stage. But just seeing all these phenomenal therapists, psychologists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, working, using different techniques, using kind of, they were really thinking outside the box. So it wasn't just, we're going to do it like this and this is the only way we're going to do it. They were really looking outside the box, creating new ideas. They weren't happy just to accept this is the way we've always done it and this is the way we'll always do it. They wanted to create new ways of helping the brain, helping the child achieve their potential from an auditory processing point of view and every other way. So when I came back from my travels, I started to incorporate all of those techniques and put together what I now call, and have really, used so much over the years and have finely tuned over the years, my own technique, my own way of doing it, which is really the best of speech therapy combined with really fantastic sound therapy and sensory integrative techniques. And the results we're seeing are just incredible. And that's what, so kids when someone rings me now or, rings the clinic or comes in and says, my child's an auditory processing disorder, I'm nearly delighted because I know that that's very easily rectified. Okay. Now, there is a difference between auditory processing disorder and the more central auditory processing disorder, and that can be harder to get to the root of. Okay. And it can be harder to sort out, but still in saying that, we can do it, particularly with the sound therapy. So, as I say, I love it when someone says, it's an auditory processing disorder. But you know what? But still I feel, and that's why I'm doing these videos, is to get the information out there, the good information out there. Because, and I mentioned this in another video, I was very disappointed in the last, was it in the last 6 months to a year? There was a group of experts in auditory processing disorder specifically came over to our local university here. So I was very excited to go and hear what they had to say. But I was so disappointed. And that is not to take away from any of those therapists. But it's just to say, everything they said that day, it was all about compensatory techniques. This is stuff that we've known for years, and it only brings the child so far. I mean, we can't compensate in every environment. We can't, for example, compensatory techniques like, for example, within the classroom. Make sure the child's sitting at the top of the class, make sure the window's closed, make sure there isn't a computer on, make sure possibly that the teacher has an FM system. That actually is one technique that can be very beneficial within a classroom setting, because it can pull the teacher's speech out of the low frequency sound and help the child to hear it much more clearly. So yes, that is one good technique. But that's been around for years, so that's great. But the rest of the techniques, I just thought, oh my God, surely we've come further than this. And I've been using sound therapy for years, and we're seeing that kids with auditory processing disorder were changing. If I did a LIFT program with them, I was seeing that their results, their auditory processing scores were changing by a year, 2 years and 3 years, coming to age appropriate over a period of a 30-day LIFT program. So I couldn't understand. So, I started to say to them about the sound therapy and that. And there was mixed, I'll have to say there was mixed reactions, because I think some people felt threatened by that. And happily other people were able to take it on board and follow up on it and contacted me to look into it further. And so that's the kind of, I want to share that experience with you, because It's not everybody that knows it, but I've been lucky enough with my experience over the years to learn this from the best of the best on a worldwide level, and I want to share that now with families. So from an auditory processing point of view, I just want to say to you that no, auditory processing disorder isn't for life. Yes, there are techniques there, and they are sound therapy specifically that will change your child's auditory processing disorder literally in front of your eyes over a period of weeks and months as opposed to years, okay? And really help your child achieve their true potential in terms of auditory processing. I see kids day in, day out with auditory processing difficulties, and they change on a weekly basis using the sound therapy, whether it be the non-intensive, the therapeutic listening, whether it be the advanced therapeutics, whatever we decide and whatever way over the years we've, we know how to develop the programs with all our experience. So you need to find somebody. You need to find either and again, I'm going to put it in the description box below. You need to find somebody who's either ideally a speech therapist, who's using a lot of sound therapy, ideally the therapeutic listening, the lift, tomatoes method, that type of thing. I'm going to leave a link below where you can find out about practitioners on a worldwide level who are using therapeutic listening, and find someone local to you, and also practitioners who are using the lift program on a worldwide level, and even the tomatoes method, and so that you can see the changes that I have seen and I see on a daily basis with kids, and I really wish that for all of you, because I think it's so important for kids to be able to process the information so that they can get the job they want, they can go do the college course they want, they can interact and have the relationships they want. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful for you. There's a lot of information here. I will do follow-up videos, and if there's anything in particular you want me to cover, or more in relation to this particular area, please just comment in the box below, and I'll do my best to do that for you. Okay, thank you. I look forward to talking to you in the future.